private dining room at Sakuragawa held a fragile peace as the Reeves family settled around the low table.
Embassy janitor. That's what you do, right? Empty trash cans for real diplomats.
Margaret Reeves did not flinch, but the light in her eyes flickered like a candle against wind.
Honestly, James, when you said she worked at the embassy, I assumed she was a secretary, not maintenance.
James stared at his empty sake cup, his silence louder than any defense.
Now. I'm sure Margaret works very hard. Some people find their calling later in life. Is that what you think, Robert? That the embassy's trash empties itself?
I think my son married a woman who can't even admit what she does for a living. That's embarrassing.
You have no idea what I do. And tonight, you never will.
The first course arrived, but no one touched it. The air thickened with unspoken truths. 6 hours before dinner, Major Margaret Reeves sat in her embassy office, reviewing a classified threat assessment.
The North Korean naval movements were escalating. She'd just briefed the ambassador.
Her uniform bore a bronze star and a purple heart, medals earned in combat, not behind a desk. A priority message buzzed on her secure phone. Ambassador Crawford arriving at Sakuragawa. Review cable before dinner.
She'd have to change. The dinner was in an hour.
In the small restroom, she shed her uniform and hid the medals beneath a civilian blouse. At Sakuragawa, the silence was finally broken by Robert's renewed scorn.
I asked around. Embassy janitors don't even need a security clearance. That's how little they trust you.
Robert, please. Let's not ruin the evening over. Career choices. Career. He'd never understand that her career was the only thing keeping this city safe. Margaret, dear, we only worry. It must be so exhausting doing whatever it is you do.
James shifted in his seat, his eyes pleading with his mother to stop, but his lips stayed sealed.
She had sworn an oath to defend this nation, yet here she was, defending her right to exist.
Honestly, if the embassy needed actual work done, they'd hire real professionals, not amateurs.
But we are so grateful you are here with our James. That's the true blessing.
Under the table, Margaret's knuckles whitened as she clutched the fabric of her dress.
She thought of the fallen Marines she'd carried home, the nights in war zones.
Even garbage disposal requires a certain dedication, I suppose. Someone's got to do it.
Dad, that's enough, please.
The room felt like a sealed pressure chamber. One more word and the glass would shatter.
Then tell us, Margaret, what exactly have you done that matters? Just one thing.
Margaret's hand hovered over her sake cup. The silence stretched thin and cold. In her pocket, her phone emitted a sharp, coded triple buzz, the alert she had been half waiting for. The message was brief. Ambassador Crawford arriving in 5 minutes. Priority cable requires your review.
The ambassador. Here. Now. She read it again, heart stuttering. If you'll excuse me for a moment.
She rose and slipped out, her heart a steady, accelerating drum against her ribs. In the empty hallway, she opened the full encrypted cable. AMB, Crawford, and wrote, "Prepare to receive at terrace entrance."
She hadn't expected him to arrive during dinner. This changed everything, but her face betrayed nothing.
When she settled back onto her cushion, the shoji door behind Robert began its slow, deliberate slide open. A tall silhouette darkened the paper. The shoji screen slid fully open, and Ambassador Michael Crawford stepped inside, his formal dark suit cutting a sharp figure against the lantern light.
Can we help you? This is a private room.
Oh my, perhaps the manager. We didn't order anything more.
I don't think that's a waiter, Mon.
Here it is. The line between the woman they think I am and the officer I've always been.
The ambassador's gaze swept the table once before settling squarely on Margaret, a glint of recognition in his eyes. Robert noticed the stare and scoffed, misreading it entirely.
Probably lost his way to the private lounge. Some people just wander in.
Then the ambassador took a deliberate step toward Margaret and began a slow, formal bow, his lips parting to speak. The room seemed to hold its breath. Whatever he said next would shatter the evening's fragile pretense forever. Ambassador Crawford's bow deepened, his voice about to break the silence. But Robert slammed a palm on the table.
Just who are you, and why are you bowing to my daughter-in-law? Is this some kind of prank?
Robert, please. He's an embassy colleague. Something urgent must have come up.
Margaret? What's going on? Who is this man?
Without waiting for an answer, Margaret stepped around the table and took the ambassador by the arm, guiding him toward the shoji door.
I need 5 minutes. I'll explain when I return.
The shoji screen slid shut, leaving the family in a vacuum of unspoken questions and rising panic.
Unbelievable. She walks out with a stranger in the middle of dinner. James, what kind of wife have you married?
I don't know, Dad. I don't know anything right now.
Beyond the paper screens, the ambassador's town car idled at the curb, its diplomatic plates catching the neon glow of the Tokyo night. Inside the private dining room, the silence curdled into murmurs. Tomoko dabbed her lips with a napkin, her eyes cold.
Well, I always heard the embassy staff were very political. One must be careful not to get caught in their intrigues.
Political. Margaret, she probably brews coffee for the real officers. That's her diplomatic contribution.
James said nothing. His silence was no longer passive. It was a verdict. In the private room down the hall, Margaret stood face to face with Ambassador Crawford, the weight of double obligation pressing on her shoulders.
She remembered the day they pinned the bronze star to her chest, the general's words still echoing, for conspicuous gallantry in action.
Her fist tightened at her side, the old fire burning through the shame of the dinner table.
Major, we have a developing situation. I wouldn't have interrupted if it weren't critical.
I understand, sir. Show me the cable.
The family would wait a little longer, each minute sinking them deeper into the abyss they had dug with their own words. The sushi sat untouched, edges curling. The waiter brought a third bottle of sake, and Robert poured himself a heavy cup.
A toast to James, the only person at this table who actually contributes to society.
I do hope Margaret's colleague isn't causing trouble. Embassy scandals can be very public.
James stared at the sliding door, his jaw working, a muscle twitching under his eye.
She said 5 minutes. It's been 20. Something's wrong.
Wrong. She's probably getting fired. Finally, someone saw through the charade.
We should prepare for damage control. If there's an incident, it could reflect poorly on you, James.
The faint sound of shoes on wooden floors carried from the corridor, deliberate, measured footsteps. The family froze, their cruel assumptions hanging in the air like smoke. The shoji door slid open without a knock, and a shaft of lantern light cut into the room. Margaret stepped through first, her face unreadable. The ambassador loomed behind her, his gaze fixed on her back. Without a word, the ambassador stepped around her and began a second, even more deliberate bow, his head dropping low.
Enough with the bowing. Who are you? Her servant?
Robert, please. This is shameful. Stop drawing attention.
Margaret, answer him. What's happening? Please.
The ambassador straightened slowly, his lips parting. A stream of formal, elegant Japanese spilled into the room.
What did he say? Is that some kind of code?
I don't understand. She never told me she spoke Japanese.
This was her world, the one where rank and respect were earned, not inherited.
The ambassador's eyes, still locked on Margaret, held a question no one at the table was ready to answer. The ambassador's Japanese concluded. He straightened, and in flawless, resonant English, he spoke a title that hung in the air.
Major Reeves, I apologize for the intrusion. An urgent security cable requires your immediate attention.
The word major sliced the silence. Robert's chopsticks froze in midair, a piece of pickled ginger tumbling onto the tatami.
Major? You? That's impossible. She couldn't be.
Tomoko's hand flew to her chest, the fan she'd been holding clattering onto the table. Her composure shattered.
But she's just. We thought. All these years, a major?
James's face drained of color. He stared at his wife as if seeing her emerge from a fog, a stranger in familiar skin.
You are a major. Why didn't you ever tell me? What else haven't you told me?
She had rehearsed this reveal 100 times, but now there was only numbness. No triumph, just the weight of what came next.
The ambassador stood immovable, his form still bowed as if waiting for a signal from a world the family could not yet comprehend. Margaret straightened, and with a single nod, she became the officer she had hidden all evening.
Major, if you would. The private room is just down the hall.
Of course. I apologize for the interruption. It won't take long.
Without waiting for a reply from the table, she led the ambassador out, the shoji door sliding shut with a soft final thud. The silence they left behind was a physical thing, pressing on the family like a weighted blanket.
Major? She's a major? And we've been calling her. Oh, God.
This is a scandal. What will our friends say? The bridge club. My reputation.
I didn't even know her rank. What does that say about our marriage?
It says you were deceived, son. She lied to us all.
But even Robert didn't sound convinced. The ground beneath their feet had shifted, and there was no going back. In the private room, the ambassador spread a thin file across the low table. Its red border marked secret no foreign.
A small breach at the naval base. Nothing critical, but your clearance was needed for the countermeasure review.
I'll have the comms team ready within the hour. Sir, you can count on me?
The transaction was swift and sure, a familiar dance between two professionals who trusted each other implicitly. Back at the table, the silence had curdled into blame. Robert rounded on his son.
You live with her. How could you not know? Did you never ask what she actually does?
Dad, I didn't. You told me not to pry into her little job. You said it was beneath us.
James, we only wanted to protect you from disappointment.
But the admission hung in the air, a confession that they had all been complicit in their own ignorance. The shoji screen trembled, the sound of footsteps approaching, and the family braced for the reckoning that was surely coming. The shoji door slid open, and Margaret stepped inside, her expression unreadable.
What was all that about? Who is that man? And since when are you a major?
I am a defense attaché. That man is the U.S. ambassador. The matter is resolved.
Defense attaché? You've been hiding this from me our entire marriage.
So you actually have a real job, and we've been mocking you for nothing?
Robert, calm down. Margaret, we didn't know. We were cruel. You must understand. They didn't deserve the full truth. Not yet.
She sat down calmly, her spine straight, as if she were on a parade ground.
You won't even explain? I am your husband.
Margaret met his eyes with a quiet, unyielding stare. The distance between them felt vast. Margaret rose from her cushion in one swift motion, a soldier obeying a call to duty.
Ambassador Crawford is waiting outside. I'll accompany him to the embassy to file this report immediately.
You are leaving in the middle of dinner. After dropping this bomb on us, you just walk out.
Margaret, don't go. Not like this. We need to talk. Please, I am your husband.
She didn't pause. She walked toward the door, the ambassador's silhouette already filling the frame with quiet authority.
The mission comes first. You've made it clear you never wanted to know what that entailed.
Robert lunged to grab her arm, his fingers inches from her sleeve.
Sir, I must ask you to stand aside. This is official business.
James shouted her name, but she did not turn. The shoji door slid shut behind them with a heavy thud. The family was left in a silence that was louder than any word they had spoken all night. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Tomoko's voice, brittle and sharp, cut through the hush.
This is your fault, James. You live with her, you sleep beside her, and you never once asked what she truly does.
She made fools of us all. My reputation in the business circles. Ruined. And you, son, you just stood there.
James stared at the closed shoji door, his mind reeling back to a conversation with his father months ago. His father's words surfaced. "Don't bother learning her little job, James. It's just clerical nonsense. You focus on your career."
And he had listened. He had never asked. The weight of that negligence pressed on his chest like a stone.
Tomoko was still speaking, but James no longer heard her. The silence inside him was louder.
Now she's gone, and the whole embassy will gossip about us. What will our friends think?
Maybe they'll think we were fools, because we were. I let my father tell me not to care, and I listened.
The admission hung in the air, and for the first time, James felt not just loss, but shame. The kind that wouldn't fade. The minutes crawled by in the aftermath of shame. Then, 2 sets of footsteps, measured and sure, halted outside. The door slid open, and Margaret stood on the threshold, utterly transformed. Her Marine Corps blue dress uniform was immaculate. Gold major's leaves, the Defense Attaché badge, a rainbow of ribbons. The bronze star glinted sharply, as if it knew the night had changed. Robert's chopsticks, poised mid-air earlier, now clattered to the table, untouched.
That uniform. It's genuine. Not a costume.
He stared at her as if seeing a stranger for the second time, and this stranger commanded rooms.
The ambassador stepped aside, leaving Margaret alone in the doorway, a figure of solitary dignity.
She had worn this uniform in war zones, in classified briefings. But here, it was armor.
Not one of them could meet her eyes. The dinner lay abandoned, a relic of a smaller world. The ambassador stepped into the room, his posture formal, and addressed Robert as if he were a visiting dignitary.
Sir, I must thank you for raising a family that supports such a distinguished officer.
Robert's face went slack, his tongue cleaving to the roof of his mouth.
Major Reeves is the senior Marine Defense Attaché in Tokyo. She has held that post for 2 years, and her work is vital to U.S.-Japan relations.
Tomoko let out a choked sob, the fan in her hand fluttering uselessly.
I never asked, because my father told me her work didn't matter. I chose to believe him.
Margaret looked at him with something worse than anger. A quiet, absolute finality.
The choice had been made, the moment he chose silence over curiosity.
The ambassador placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, a silent gesture of solidarity. The dinner lay in ruins. Only the last, hardest words remained unspoken. Margaret stepped forward until the low table was the only barrier between her and James. Her shadow fell across the cold sushi.
I served my country in combat zones and classified briefings. I hid it because I feared this very moment, that you would value title over substance, that you would mock what you refused to see.
Robert opened his mouth, but no words came. His hands trembled on the table. From a hidden pocket inside her uniform coat, she withdrew a slim folder and laid it on the table before James.
This is a petition for annulment. It's already prepared. I've had it ready for weeks.
James stared at the word annulment as if it were written in a language he suddenly couldn't read.
I no longer wish to be part of a family that sees only what it wants to see. I am done.
Tomoko broke into quiet sobs. Robert's head fell into his hands. The silence that followed was hollow. Margaret straightened her coat and stepped back from the table, her duty to this chapter complete.
Margaret, wait. I can change. I'll ask. I'll learn. Please, don't do this.
She did not turn. Her strides were measured. A soldier withdrawing from a battlefield that was never hers to fight.
For God's sake, woman, listen. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Can't you give us a second chance?
Margaret glanced over her shoulder, a single look that silenced him like a shut door.
Major, my car is waiting. Allow me to drive you to the embassy. It would be an honor.
Thank you, sir. I'd appreciate that.
Behind them, Tomoko's soft weeping filled the room, her handkerchief pressed to her mouth, her composure obliterated. Margaret walked through the door. The ambassador held it open, then followed her out. Robert collapsed onto his cushion, his face buried in his hands, a man unmade by his own words. The restaurant's entrance swallowed her silhouette. Not once did she glance back at the life she was leaving behind. The ambassador's car pulled smoothly away from the curb, its engine a low hum against the Tokyo night. The city's electric geometry streaked past, a blur of kanji and headlights, as silent as her thoughts.
You made the right choice, Major.
Margaret gave a small nod, her eyes never leaving the cityscape beyond the glass.
I'll have the embassy's legal team expedite the process. Your service record leaves no room for delay.
The car glided past the Imperial Palace moat, the ancient stone walls, a stark contrast to the neon above.
By morning, the annulment would be filed. A marriage born of silence, ended by truth.
She watched the Tokyo Tower flash its red beacon in the distance, a lighthouse for a future she'd finally chosen. The ambassador said nothing more, allowing the silence to speak of mutual respect. Tomorrow would be the first day of a life she'd define on her own terms, and she was ready. The morning sun sliced through the embassy's glass atrium as Major Margaret Reeves crossed the marble floor, heels echoing with purpose. She did not pause at the security checkpoint. The Marines at the desk merely nodded. She belonged. In her office, the annulment folder lay waiting, its edges sharp against the polished mahogany. She sat, uncapped a pen, and signed her name with the same hand that had once signed deployment orders. Major Margaret Reeves. The ink dried in seconds, but it severed years of pretense. She closed the file and set it aside, then reached for a small frame on her desk. The photo inside, a younger self receiving the Bronze Star, the gaze fierce, full of promise. She traced the glass, then slid the frame into a drawer. Not gone, but no longer on display. Some armor was worn, not stared at. She left the folder on the desk. No ceremony, only the click of a lock behind her. The rooftop door opened onto a world suspended between night and gold. Margaret stepped into the wind. The horizon was a thin blade of fire. Below, the city stirred, a million lives she had sworn to protect. She crossed the parapet, her uniform catching the first true rays, and stood alone with the silence. In her palm, a small enamel flag pin gleamed, a keepsake from her first deployment, now a talisman. She fixed it beside her Bronze Star, a quiet ritual reclaimed. Then she lifted her gaze to the sun, her face washed in its warmth, and the years fell away. Some masks are worn for protection, until the day you no longer need to hide. A single cherry blossom petal, caught on a current, drifted past her shoulder and settled on the empty parapet. She did not reach for it. She no longer needed to. Fade to black,